I've worked with a lot of programmers throughout my career, and without a doubt, Jessie here is the best that I've ever worked with.
That's very nice, but I'm actually not fast at all. And Barry is by far the fastest programmer I have ever worked with.
That's right.
But you know, today I actually think I finally have a weapon that's going to actually make me get close to his speed. So I think today we're going to have us a little programming challenge.
Close only matters in horseshoes and hand grenades. Good luck. So, I think we all know how this is going to end. I'm going to absolutely smoke Jessie, and it's going to be hilarious. So all I've got here is our models of our vise, our stock, and our part. I haven't done anything else. I haven't created any tools. I haven't created any curves. It's just the models in space, and that's all I got. So let's get started programming.
So I'm sure Barry's sitting over there right now just in a pool of sweat trying to beat me, but he's never going to win. So all I got to do here, I'm just going to click my CloudNC button, go to CamAssist, and we'll make sure this is all set up. Op1, G54, Op2. Tools is good. Everything looks good on this page. Don't really have to do many settings here. And let's see. Now this is calculating. And in less than 1 minute, it's already putting all of our toolpath on there. So we get this pop-up that says it generated 30 operations, finishing 141 out of 141 surfaces. So we got complete toolpath on this part. And don't want to see my cycle time reporter. Now it's going to go in and actually calculate all the toolpath. So we just got the last few toolpaths and stock models calculating here. And time. So what's that? 2 minutes. Barry's probably sitting over there for hours working on this. So now I want to come in and actually simulate all this. So do Op1. That looks good. Come back here. We'll simulate Op2. That looks good. I'm actually going to compare this. Give it a 2,000 stock tolerance. Everything's green, no gouges, didn't leave any materials behind. This thing's complete. Time to go tell Barry. Barry!
What up,
You
Jessie?
still working on this thing?
Man, I just finished 29, 30 minutes.
Oh my God.
I know I smoked you.
Dude, 29 minutes?
Yeah, bro.
I'm going to be honest with you, Barry. That's actually pretty impressive.
I know it is.
But you just got beat by 27 minutes.
By who?
By me. I tried to tell him.
Oh, I'll believe this when I see it.
Well, I'm just going to let you know right now. I had a lot of faith in you, but not no more.
Great. I'm a disappointment again.
All right, guys, as y'all saw, in around 2 minutes, we had a complete program here that we simulated. It all looked good. It machined every surface on the part with no material left behind, no gouges, and that's pretty amazing. You know, I don't think any human's going to be able to put 35 operations, creating all that geometry, all those curves, setting all the tool parameters, selecting the tools, all that goes into that in 2 minutes. But with that being said, as you saw, this thing gives us a complete program. It might not be the best, most efficient program in the world, but in just a couple minutes, it gave us something that probably would run. Granted, our feeds and speeds, step overs, all that kind of stuff will run on our machine. So what that means is now I could get this on the machine, let it be running. That allows me to get on to something different and start programming something else, maybe a more complex part, whatever. Maybe I've got 10 parts that I need to run in one day. This allows me to get to the machine faster. One thing I want to talk about is you might not be able to get your tool library up and running right off the bat. It's going to take a lot of input to get the output that you want, as I've said many times. But here's a little trick that you can do, which is what I did on this part here. And that is, when you get CamAssist, they give you this huge tool library that may not be the tools that you use. It may not be the step overs and feeds and speeds that you use. But what we can do is, while we are building our tool library out, we can start putting toolpath on our parts with their tool library, which is exactly what I've done here. Now, to get me going, what I can do now is I can bring in my tools and change these out to my tools, my feeds and speeds, and still it's going to be much faster than I would have done that from the very beginning, creating all my curves and all of that. All right, so let's go through some of these toolpaths and show you what I would do to change this over to using my tools. So if I come up to op 1 here, I can see we're doing a facing pass. It's going to be roughing the outside. It's going to do a finish pass and then chamfer. Now what I might do is I can come up here to my tools, open up my tool library, and I might go ahead and select a face mill. So I'm going to choose this 3-inch face mill and maybe my roughing tool that I like to use, which is this 3/4 inch Core 5. So I can come right here to this facing tool path. I'm just going to switch the tool. Now I might not like their feeds and speeds. I can do right click on the tool and say reinitialize feeds and speeds, and it will change to what I have saved for this tool. Now I see right here it's doing a roughing and finish pass. So this op, maybe I just want to skim the top, leave the bulk of the material on the other side, so I'll just remove those depth cuts. And just hit OK. Now one thing I might actually do is come back in here and change my step over. See they're doing a 50% step over. I might change it to 75. I'm sorry, that's my overlap. So what I might do is change my step over to a 75% step over. And didn't really change much, but mainly what I want to see is come down here to my roughing operation. And I can see they chose a 3/4 inch tool. And this tool only has a 1.5 inch length of cut. So that's why they're taking this in 2 depths. But I know I can change this to my tool. Come right here and I'm going to change this to my 3/4 inch tool. Reinitialize the feeds and speeds. And I might come down here. You know, I might be good with that step over. Step down, I want to change that. And just going to leave everything else the same. Now I'm taking that in one pass with my feeds and speeds that I've got saved for that tool. Then we can recalculate the stock model. Now see on this finish pass that it's chosen to only finish these side walls. Now this is where you as a skilled machinist comes into play, and you can basically choose how you want to machine the part from this point forward. CamAssist can't really see things like GD&T, things like that. It's only looking at the model and deciding the best way to machine that model. Now, I can see that it's not coming across these ends, and this little profile here on the end, it's going to save that for the next operation, which might be fine. You know, maybe this profile is tied to some features on this side of the part. So maybe you would want to do it that way. You know, that's up to you in the print. But say for the sake of argument, I want to do it on this op, I simply can go right into that operation. And instead of having my chain geometry, these 2 outside edges, I might delete this and select this entire loop, and then change to my tool that I added here. Maybe I changed the feeds and speeds a little bit, you know, whatever. I'm going to remove the depth cuts because now I know this tool can reach full length. And I might turn on my cutter comp. So when I hit OK, I can see it's going all the way around the part. Now the lead in and lead out, I need to adjust a little bit. So you can see here, you know, this is where it's going to tie into you as the programmer, knowing the part based off the print, and make adjustments from there. So now I'm machining around the whole outside of the part, and it's also coming down here to the chamfer tool. It's only chamfering these two edges, this edge and this back edge, because it knew it only finished that. So what I can do now is I can delete one of these, and I can come in here and rechain this geometry to now chamfer the entire part. So with those few little changes, you know, really quick, I've got something that I want a little bit closer to what I want, as well as the tools that I want to use and the feeds and speeds that I want to use. Now, again, guys, keep this in mind that the more you see here that I'm doing at this stage, the more you build that tool library, the more you add your cutting parameters and all of that, the less you're going to have to do here. It's going to choose those in the beginning. So a lot of this can be cut out by developing that tool library. But to get you going, because it's going to take time, this is a good way to combat that. Because the bulk of the mundane stuff is already there. The toolpath is there, most of it's set up, the geometry has been created, so it's taken a lot of that mundane stuff that I would have had to do and doing it for me. So now what I can do is I can come down here to this first roughing operation on this side, and I can do the kind of the same thing. What I might do is come up here to my machine group 1, and I'll copy these tools down. More than likely I won't use that that face mill, but I like to see it there just in case I do want to use it. So what I want to do is come in here and I'll select my 3/4 inch tool, and I'll just start adjusting some of these parameters based off my tool that I've selected. Now it might help you here if I turn on the vices, and I can see, you know, pretty much I need to machine all of these pockets. I know I've already machined the outside, so I don't have to worry about that. So I want to at least get down to this bottom pocket here. So what I might do is reselect that level here. I might change my step down, something like 1 3/4. I might change my step up, get a little bit more aggressive there. I like to use next closest for my optimize my step ups. Let's just see what that gives us. So now I'm going to look a little bit further into this roughing toolpath. I can see it's trying to drop into here and rough in between these vices, which that material's already gone. There's no real reason it should be doing that. So what I can do here is come in and tell it under my stock tab to detect stock breakthrough. Now once I select that, all of that will go away because it will then know that all that material is gone. And that's probably all I'm going to need to adjust here. So now I can see that that's gone. So now I'm pretty good ways away from my vise. I know I'm not going to hit anything there. It's a little bit better of a roughing routine. One thing that you might notice that some people might complain about is if I cut this stock on, actually let me turn my stock model on. So this is kind of what it looks like, and the first thing it's doing is it's coming in and helical milling these pockets, and then it's going to come and rough the outside. You may or may not like that. If I've got one part to make, I'm not really going to worry about setting up a whole tool just to drill out these pockets. That's me personally. If I've got a bunch of these parts to make, yeah, then I want to optimize this a little bit. And you may notice that CloudNC didn't automatically see that. Well, I've talked about this in a previous video that as of the making of this video, that's currently not a strategy that CloudNC considers to pre-drill maybe a large pocket and then come in and start roughing it. It's probably going to be added in the future, but as of right now, it's just not a strategy that it sees. And I've talked a little bit in the previous video about how the order of operations that it uses, and it's going to be facing, roughing, finishing, then hole making, something to that effect. So as of right now, it's not going to pre-drill these out. But as you see, it pretty much did my whole program super fast, and it's really nothing for me now to come in here, and if I want to add that as a strategy, I can just come right here, maybe add me some holes right here. I'm just going to click a couple faces or spots right in here just to use as geometry to select. I can now come in here and first position my little arrow there. So now I can come in and do a drilling operation. I'll select these 4. I'll just quickly create a tool. Let's say I do like an 1 1/4 drill. Maybe I got an indexable drill. Maybe it's 180 degrees. 1 tooth. Let's call it drill 1.250. Finish. Give it some feeds and speeds. That looks a little more better. Do a drilling operation. I might come in here now. Select this bottom floor. Now I'm probably going to come up a little bit from that. I don't want to directly drill to my finished surface. For my top of stock, I'm just going to go to my absolute position. Click the top of my stock there. And I'll come in here, set some of this. And finally cut the coolant on. So right there is my drilling operation to pre-drill these pockets. Now all I do is I'll add it to this stock model that CloudNC created. And once this recalculates, now you'll see those pre-drilled holes there. Now when I come into my roughing operation, I'll probably need to make this helix radius a little bit smaller so it can actually see that it can drop down in those holes now. But once I recalculate this, it should now drop straight down into those pre-drilled holes and know that it can just start roughing. Yeah. So this one, it actually need to adjust that number a little bit. So if I was probably going to do this a little bit better, I would probably make sure that this was right in the center of the pocket. But for what this is doing, you know, this is just fine. Now I can see it's dropping straight down in there. So as you can see, it didn't take me long to add that, and it's more of a strategy that I want to use. And but either way, this is much faster than if I would have done all of this from scratch. So that kind of pretty much covers all the roughing. It does come in with a little smaller tool and does a little rest roughing, and then comes in and starts finishing the floors and then finishing the walls. Now, one thing you notice, it did actually finish these angled surfaces here, which is pretty cool. Now this might not be a strategy that I want to use. You know, that's for you to decide. It used a water line. Maybe I want to change this to a raster toolpath and give it a little bit finer scallop height. But just like that, I changed that toolpath. So, you know, we can squabble on little things here and there, but this is an amazing, amazing software for things like this. I mean, especially if you're a machinist you're by yourself, it's just you, and you've got to get a lot of parts put out the door, this thing is super fast. Drilled my holes, and then last thing it did is it come in and deburred everything. Now, one thing I do notice here is basically it deburred the whole part except for these angled faces right here. Now, at this point, this is a good opportunity to come in with Mastercam's new deburr toolpath. And I can just come in right at the bottom here, go to my deburr 3-axis. I've already got a ball nose end mill in here from what it chose. So I can just take that, give it some better feeds and speeds here. Oops. And what I can do is, for my machining geometries, I'll just go in and select the faces that are tangent to what I want to cut. It might be just faster if I was really just absolutely focusing on speed here to just delete all of these other deburring cycles or deburr toolpaths and just select the whole model and just let it cut what it cuts. But for the sake of this video, I'm just going to select what I want to cut here. Now I can go ahead and tell you it's probably going to cut these vertical walls because I've selected all the tangent faces here, but we can easily exclude those if it does. So I'll put a 10th thou edge break on it, tighten up my tolerance a little bit, and let's just hit OK and see what that gives us. Yeah. So I can see I'm now deburring these angled faces here, but just like I thought, it's trying to do up this vertical wall and across this here. And maybe I want to get rid of that. So I can quickly come in under exclude edges, and I'll just pick these 3 edges here. All right, now we hit OK. Now that's more like what I want to see. Now we can come in if we want, optimize these retracts, stuff like that. But man, you've seen how fast we just got through this whole part. And that's pretty incredible. So like I said, guys, the more you build your tool library out, the better it's going to be at getting those processes that you want to see right off the bat and really, really start cutting down some of this time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you got something out of it. Like and subscribe if you enjoy our content. We'll see y'all next time.